This is the Elsa Kurt Show.
Oh, hey, hi. How are you, Clay?
I'm a little fired up today.
I know you are. I'm pretending like I don't know that. I'm like, oh, what's up? Something new that I don't know about? Yeah, no. Listen, y'all, you better stay tuned for the rest of this show. Clay is fired up. You're not gonna have to wait too long to hear about what it is, though. We're not those guys that keep teasing you the whole show about this big thing that's gonna happen and then wait till the very end after like 20 commercials and nonsense and stuff and things to make you wait. Nope. You got like basically a half a topic to get through because I feel like this is going to come out pretty quick. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, guys, we hope that you are all doing well. We hope you've had a nice, restful, joyful, happy, peaceful week, that you are not in need of recovering from St. Patrick's Day, y'all. Did you go to
I did not. So Chicago, listen, I don't know if I was ever actually in attendance in high school on St. Patrick's Day because I was always at the South Side Parade. Chicago used to hold the parades, or at least one of the parades, on St. Patrick's Day. But they've since moved them all to the weekend before or after. This year it was the weekend before.
Right.
They did all the normal Chicago things. They dyed the river green, right? And all of that. The thing that killed me is that all over social media, and I'm sure it's not just Chicago, but do you know what a Borg is?
Oh, it's some kind of drink that they have like in these milk gallon jugs, right?
Kids take a gallon of water and then they either pour some off or drink it or whatever, and then they put alcohol in it, and it's like Borg is like black outrage gallon or something like that, right? There were clips and clips and clips and clips of people walking around the city of Chicago with these gallons of alcohol, right?
Oof.
And the cops literally are just walking up to people and taking them. And
yeah, they're like dumping. I did see a video of them dumping it down the grates.
Right.
There's going to be some drunk rats.
Like, yeah, they're pouring it out, right? Whatever. And then they turn, like the camera turns, and you just see piles and piles and piles of these things. But like, when did people become so, like, we used to hide drinking in public, right? It was illegal to open alcohol on the street. People just don't care now.
They don't care. They don't care.
Teenage kids.
Yeah.
Like, listen, we used to put peppermint schnapps in Shamrock Shakes. Like that was St. Patrick's Day.
Brilliant.
Right. It hides the smell, all of it. Right. These kids don't care. They're literally walking around with this gallon jug of alcohol and they just don't give it. It was crazy. No, I did not go downtown.
Yeah, no, I honestly, as we're talking, I'm thinking like, have I ever in my adult life ever been to a St. Patrick's Day parade? The answer is no. The answer is no, because I don't like parades. I don't like I have a strong, it's right up there with clowns. I have a deep aversion. It's so cliche, like, oh, everybody has to think about clowns. Yeah, well, I do too. Clowns and balloons, if anybody cares. Put a balloon near me, I will probably lose my you know what about it. And, I won't pop it because I don't want them near me, but yeah. So anyhow, no parades for me. That's probably a, kind of a never thing. The very idea of it sounds horrible. Although I do know people who did go to the local parades and said it was awesome and it was so fun. So I'm very happy for them. So happy for anybody who enjoyed it, and right there with anybody who said no thank you to it. Oh, all right. We're getting into it. See, I told him I wasn't going to make him wait, and I'm making him wait. Let's start right off with, hang on. It helps if I'm kind of on the ball here. Here we go. Let's talk about Tucker. And this is actually it's a bigger, this will expand because it's not just about Tucker. So he went on ABC and called the Iran strikes absolutely disgusting and evil. That is a quote. He's claiming it betrays every America First voter. Candace Owens, MTG, and now Megyn Kelly are hitting the exact same beats. Zero wars, Israel's war, not ours, with Meghan even sliding into that same. And here's the thing. This is a thing I kind of want to talk about that's kind of weirding me out big time. And whether you agree with what they're saying or not, this is the whole thing that's weirding me out so much. I just watched a clip of hers, and I have it, where she's talking in the same exact kind of like sing-song, lilty voice tone that Tucker uses and Candace. Now, is it a journalist voice? Maybe that's all it is. I just associate this with specifically Tucker and Candace, and I'm going to play it for you guys. It's a clip. It's technically 3 clips in one, and I'm sorry to kind of segue a little. We'll get right back on track, but I just need everybody and your input play on this. It's all 3 of them back to back.
It appears because he's been vocal about opposing it, he may find himself on the wrong end of a criminal prosecution, or at least the threat thereof.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power.
And I believe Tucker. Some don't. I do. I believe him completely because he would have zero interest in running out, making himself the center of any story, which he doesn't like to do ever, even when he often is. And knowing him, I detected real concern in his voice there because he's worried about what's happening to our government. Like, why are we behaving like this? Why would we be going after private citizens, a journalist in Tucker's case, for investigating the war?
You can legally and conscientiously object to a war. This is an illegal war. The entire world is responding to Trump and saying, this is an illegal war. Why are you doing this? And he is just saying, well, we're going to have it. This is what we do. We bomb Muslim children.
So, like, do you hear it? Do you hear what I'm hearing? It's I don't know why anybody would say that, but that's what they're saying. I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening. And it's all 3 of them are talking the exact same way. And it's weirding me out. I can't unhear it. And I bet you guys are not going to be able to unhear it either. So obviously they're all talking about the same talking points again, same exact position, same exact talking points, same everything. Now, can you say that about the other side within the side? Another crazy aspect here, right, Clay? Yes, it's like there's so much parroting going on. Is anyone actually thinking for themselves? And is that even possible right now because we're getting inundated with so much opposing opinions, perspectives on it? So I need to shut up and let you speak.
No, so that the Tucker thing, so that, if people aren't tracking this, because it popped into the news and then it kind of popped out of the news, is that Tucker he said it, and it's been on multiple media outlets, is that he is being accused of by the FBI, and there was rumors of potential criminal investigation of him providing information to some form of either government agent or person related to the government of Iran prior to the war starting, the attack starting by the United States, which obviously lends into treason and all kinds of other things, right? So he, of course, responded. Now, he gave no specifics about how he found out. Mm-hmm. Like who told him?
Right.
Was it the CIA? Was it the FBI? Did someone inside of one of those organizations tell him? I have not seen him say specifically where it came from, mm-hmm. Which, of course, lends people to make assumptions, right? Interesting is not so interesting is the reaction from Candace Owens, because I believe she's a complete loon. Mm-hmm. I think that she you could tell her anything. And if it fits her narrative, she'll believe it. She'll mispronounce it, but she will definitely believe it.
She will do both exceedingly well.
Megyn Kelly is moving further and further to I think the right, and probably dipping into a little bit of the conspiracy theory world. And I know there's all these people out there like, yeah, well, all the conspiracy theories are starting to come true.
Right.
Okay, all right, fine. But her defending Tucker like she is interesting because there's been some friction between the two of them in the last, year, 18 months or so.
Yeah.
But, Tucker was so very much in the pro-Trump MAGA crowd, and now he's on the outs. And I don't know if everything shifts so quickly, right? Are they pro-Israel? Are they anti-Israel? Whose side are they on?
Right.
I'm not entirely positive. But like you said, the matched messaging is interesting, and it's a little bit concerning because they're all supposed to be independent journalists, right?
Right.
We see and saw this kind of stuff in the mainstream media, and it's one of the things that bothers us all so much. Right? You go on MSNBC and they say the exact same words as they say on CNN, as they say on ABC, as they say on CBS, right? Literally the exact same talking points using the same verbiage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. I do have a problem, and I don't know if I'd be so bold as to call it discernment. I would like to believe that this is discernment on my end because who likes to be wrong, obviously. But it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't feel right. And I don't have an explanation for it. Like, what's the reason? So the first thing that would come to mind is, what everybody says. And again, it's like towing that same talking point. Oh, they've been bought and paid for, and it's the grift, and it's this and that, and it's all these things. I don't know, guys. I have no idea because I am gleefully on the outside. I don't want to be, and I've said this so many times in different ways. I don't want in the club. I want to stay as far out of it and try. And this is actually what helps me, like seeing these two greatly different perspectives, stances. You've got the diehard MAGA crowd, and now you've got this dissenting side, and I feel like the wisest place to ever be in anything is right somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere in the middle where you're listening and you're taking it in, and you're listening and you're taking it in, and you're using the pause, right, Clay? Our favorite word. Like, I'm practicing the pause, and I need to sit and wait these out. And the most I can say to anyone watching or listening is be cautious, be careful here on what you're running with and what you're buying into hook, line, and sinker. And I'm not saying that necessarily that Tucker and definitely Candace is out of her mind. Tucker and Megyn, and even Marjorie Taylor Greene there, do they have some strong points? Yeah, they probably do, in the fact that, no, of course, nobody wants to be part of an endless war. Nobody wants, normal person wants war, but the flip side of that is, what else are you going to do here? Like, there has been, to our understanding, a threat. I don't know. and it tires me very much because I don't like to not know, Yeah,
I do believe that Tucker's messaging is coming from somewhere else. And I've paid attention enough. Like, this is not a snap judgment on my part. I've lost, like, I stopped listening with intent, to Tucker a while ago, in that I believe it's not that I stopped listening. It's that I stopped believing the things that he was saying because things had changed so much. The delivery had changed so much.
Yeah.
He has no guardrails. I believe that Megyn Kelly for the longest time has had guardrails in her professional life outside of a network that has kept her focused and truthfully still doing journalism. I
Right.
do believe that Tucker and the TCN crew, there are no guardrails. Like whatever he does, where I personally believe that there is no one putting him in check and telling him that things are a good or a bad idea. I think they're all good ideas.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion. But that's from lots and lots of observation. That's not something that I came up with on a snap in the last week or so.
Right.
And that is my belief. Now, the independent journalists were supposed to be what saved us. And really, I think as the media has fallen out of favor with the general public, those who were influencing the media are now influencing independent journalists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they figured out that that's where everybody's migrating to.
Right.
So I think, the ilk, not necessarily the person, but the ilk of George Soros and people like him, right, influencing news that's out there. I think they are starting to move to the big name independent journalist types, because that's where they're going to continue to influence, most of America and where they get their news from, because it's no longer the news networks. Like it just isn't. So yeah, I think we're seeing a shift, and it's not in a good way.
No, it's I think it's extremely disturbing, very disheartening, because you have people who are, watching and following these people, and as you well known, we've talked about in the past, when I made some posts about Candace a little while back, those parody posts and just those questioning posts about her, her minions went berserk, like lost their minds, they were like the right's version of blue-haired screaming memes. It was, I would say it's shocking, but there isn't a whole hell of a lot that shocks me anymore. It was just disturbing. I think that's the best I can come up with. It was just disturbing to view that, like, really? Do you not even see what you're doing right now, you lunatics? And I'm sure I'll see some of that as I have another video that I'm posting about my feelings about Meghan, and I'm sure her diehards are gonna lose their minds and threaten to unfollow me or tell me that I've been bought and paid for, that I'm working for the whoever
I wish.
Yeah, right. Didn't we say that last time too? We got that accusation, like, show me the money.
Listen, I can be bought. I can be bought, but nobody's paid me yet. So
nobody's offering, Clay. What the hell? It's so rude.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would be fair enough right now. Like I feel pretty confident that there is something not right. I'll put it, as gently as I can. There is something greatly not right. We already know this, anybody who's paying attention, we already know this about Candace. And I'm on the same page with you about Tucker. I've felt the same way about him for a while now. I can't pinpoint it for you, but it's been for a while that I was like, no, I think this guy's lost the plot. Like something else is going on. And now I see the same thing happening with Meghan. And I can pinpoint the moment for me when I was like, what's going on with this girl? What is happening? And it was when she went on the personal physical appearance attack of Kristi Noem. Like, she made a big fuss about the makeup and the hair and the eyelashes and the photo ops and everything. And I was like, this is so mean girl and so gross and not cool. And that was like the first moment that I went, kind of losing the love here. And now it's been a continuous thing of her going towards those tabloid topics. And so, which brings me to my conclusion point here is that if it is not that they're being bought and paid, it's that they have begun to believe or fully believe their own hype, and that they are all about the clicks and the follows and the dollars that are coming from the revenue of what they do. And I don't know. I mean, that's, whatever the reason is, I feel very strongly that this is the thing, that they are not who they presented themselves to be before. They're just not. So, right?
Yep.
I'm looking to see if there's anything else I want to say about this. Do you have anything else you want to say about this before I let you loose? Okay. I like how quick you're like, nope, let's do it. Let's go. All right. And go.
All right, folks. So I'm pretty worked up. This is the thing I'm worked up about is Joe Kent and his resignation from being the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, who up until 24 hours ago, I would tell you that 99.9% of America didn't even know existed until his until his resignation letter hit. I did know personally, professionally. I know what NCTC is and what its purpose is. I also knew that Joe was the director there. Now, 24 hours ago, 36 hours ago. Oh, by the way, folks, it is Wednesday. Mm-hmm. It is 6:30 at this point, about 6:30 on the East Coast. Just for date timestamp. So about 36 hours ago, Joe Kent resigned as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. If you don't know Joe Kent or who he is or what his background is, Joe Kent spent 20 plus years in the Army. He was a special operations at levels and tiers that people don't even know exist. He started out as a young guy, as a young Ranger, became a Green Beret, special forces guy, and then went into some very clandestine military intelligence organizations that truthfully people don't know who they are and that they even exist. Then he retired and he worked for the CIA. And his wife, yes, he did run for office. He had a failed attempt at running for office. His wife was in the Navy. She was killed in Syria. And they had a couple of kids. He became very well known to a lot of people from a Sean Ryan interview that people have been quoting in the last 36 hours and saying that he was on Sean Ryan 3 months ago. The interview actually took place in August of 2024. Actually, that's when it was released by the Sean Ryan show, was August of 2024. So 18 months ago is when that interview was released. I don't even know when it was conducted, but obviously prior to that. So people are quoting that interview, but that's when he kind of came to a lot of into the eye line or eyesight of a lot of people in the public, because Sean Ryan's got a great show and it was a great interview. And it's a compelling story, especially with the loss of his wife. And so he gained a lot of attention. And then President Trump a year ago put him in as the director of the Counterterrorism Center, working underneath the DNI Tulsi Gabbard. His resignation letter yesterday has sparked some, to me, reprehensible and completely dishonest behavior by a whole bunch of people. And I'm going to upset some people. We're going to get some hate mail for this, Elsa. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay.
The administration did what it has done in the past to anyone and everyone that has stepped out of line. He became persona non grata. There are a lot of things said about him by the president and by Caroline Leavitt in the last 24 hours that did not paint a great picture of Joe Kent. Truthfully, I think most of them are not true in the sense that, there have been, and outside of the administration, there's been other accusations. There's been accusations that he's being paid. There's accusations that his current wife, he's remarried, his current wife works for a left-wing, pro-Muslim, anti-Israel media agency called Greystone, which she wrote one article for them in 2023, actually co-authored an article for them in 2023. She's not an employee of that organization. She doesn't regularly provide content for them, etc. There's been people have called him a traitor, people have called him a coward, and a whole bunch of things. Now, and I have a lot of problems with all of that. One, every veteran out there should know and understand that as soon as you step out of line with this administration, and this has been proven time and time again, you can go back to General Mattis, you can go back to anybody else. If you step out of line with the administration, immediately all of your previous service no longer matters. Your loyalty to the nation comes under scrutiny and comes under attack immediately. And that's what's happening to Joe Kent right now. His resignation letter, rightfully or wrongly, brought in the discussion of Israel's influence in the United States and on the president's decision making. Now, a lot of things that have come out say, well, he doesn't know what's going on in Iran. He's been cut out of intelligence briefings. He was a leaker. They knew he was a leaker. They told Tulsi Gabbard to fire him. She didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. And he was left in place until he resigned. Let me clear up a few things. If you are potentially a security threat to the United States and you have access to classified information that Joe Kent had, no one allows you to continue to do your job if they believe that you are a security threat to the United States. They also, and we all know President Trump's personality, if he told Tulsi Gabbard to fire Joe Kent months ago, which is what's being claimed, and she chose not to listen to the president, that she would not have a job either. He does not tolerate things like that. And lastly, he doesn't know what's going on because he was taken out of intelligence briefings. He literally gets briefed. He wasn't in briefings with the president. Okay, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But he gets briefed on terrorism and counterterrorism globally every single day. That is his entire life and his job. And there is no way that they would leave him in his job and cut out everything terror related that touches Iran and leave him in his position. It doesn't happen, people. But there's a lot of folks that are making these claims and they say, oh, well, look back. I think you have the tweet from 2020 that's like, we should destroy Iran immediately, and people bringing this up. Is that the one that
I have like three different ones okay. Let me see which ones I have here. Oh, two different ones. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah. So this one was from January 20th. What does it say? Yeah. I've got my clock there is right in front of it blocking.
Yeah.
But it says
I got it. It's 7 January of 2020.
Thank you.
This Joe Kent tweeting to President Trump, and it says, we should not sit and wait for the next attack. Wipe Iran's ballistic capability out and get our troops out of Iraq. They're only targets now. No U.S. WIA KIA is a tribute to the professionalism of our military and intel professionals, not Iranian restraint. Now, in his resignation letter, he said specifically that the endless war in Iran is what he is afraid of. And everybody keeps using that tweet, oh, by the way, from 6 years ago, as if it's still relevant, right? That was his position 6 years ago. Things change, right? He gained more information, had a different job, etc. But also, all he talked about there was remove their ballistic capability. In other words, get rid of their capability to build and deliver nuclear weapons. He didn't talk about regime change. He didn't talk about destroying, every military capability that they had. He spoke specifically in that tweet 6 years ago about destroying their nuclear and nuclear delivery capability, which is what we've been doing for the last 6 years in partnership with Israel and others, right? And now that we've changed course and we have done the regime change piece of this, which is what we're doing, and we've gone after every facet of their military in the process, He resigned, and he put it very clearly that he thinks Israel is influencing our decision making, the president's decision making. He thinks that the Iraq War, originally 2003 Iraq War, was influenced. That decision was influenced by Israel as well, and that this is going to be an endless war in Iran. And it's a waste of essentially blood and treasure that is ill-advised. And he expressed his, he's not happy with the president's decision, and he hopes that he changes his mind. So people think suddenly that Joe Kent has made a 180, and he hasn't. He has always been against the long-term 20-year war, which is what we're staring at, frankly, in Iran. And so he's, he decided he couldn't stand by and be a part of this. And so he resigned. And a lot of people are calling him a traitor. They're calling him a coward. They say, oh, well, you should stay in the job and fight, to change things as opposed to leaving. We all know that if President Trump, you do what he wants, there is no dissenting opinions when it comes to things like that. And you do what he wants or he fires you. So, Joe Kent truthfully probably believed that the end result of this was him leaving that job anyway. And he just decided to resign and save himself some trouble. And I would tell you honestly, and again, people are going to get upset about this. As much as I support what we have done in Iran thus far, I do believe that we are potentially staring at another 20 years in the Middle East. I do believe that we don't have a plan to replace the Ayatollah. I do believe that we've destabilized the entire region. And I do believe that this is going to result in us putting boots on the ground in Iran, which I don't support. And if anybody can tell me what the plan is on when we think this is going to end, I would tell you they're lying to themselves, because I would bet a dime on a dollar that if you put Pete Hegseth with his hand on a Bible, he can't tell you when this ends, and neither can President Trump. And this is 2003 Iraq all over again. I believe that in my gut, because we have no plan to end what we're doing.
Right. And I think
that's why Joe Kent resigned.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
Right. And I think that's the most reasonable, balanced position to take on it, that what's the end game here, right? Like how do we end this? How can we get our people not so deeply involved? Like you're saying, 20 plus years, I'm like you said, we have been through this, and in a region that has proven time and again throughout all of history that they cannot get along, that they cannot work together. So we're inserting ourselves into something, and we don't know the end game. Now, maybe, well, I guess you said it. They don't even know the end game potentially, assumedly, right? It's tough, because then when you hear things, and of course you read both sides of everything, and your head starts spinning, because I know some of the things I've read and saved and bookmarked to study and try and understand is that, according to the consensus of the Trump administration, that there is a credible threat to us, that they have been basically, these are the people that say death to America, on a minute by minute basis, that is their end game, to destroy us and everyone else that isn't them. So, then that's the argument, right? Like that's the argument from, if you want to call it the Trump camp, that these are people that will not stop until you stop them, and the goal is to stop them. Again, with the extent of the understanding that I have on both positions of this, I can see both sides of it, and I'll be damned if I know what the right course is. I know what we all don't want, and of course that's the loss of American lives. We don't want the loss of any life, obviously, but
and unfortunately, where we're at now is Joe Kent is, and his entire life, everything is being dragged because he has expressed an opinion that disagrees with the president of the United States.
Right.
He is literally like, you remember, folks, like a couple of years ago when cancel culture was at its peak and it was always the people on the left. Like, think back to Kevin Hart, right? You remember that whole thing? Like, they found a tweet, a 10-year-old tweet of his, and then he couldn't, he's like, oh, you can't host the Oscars because you made a gay joke 10 years ago.
Right.
We are all like, oh, cancel culture is so stupid. People have to let blah, blah, blah. That's exactly what's happening to Joe Kent right now, is cancel culture. He is being canceled. Lies are being made up about him. People are dragging stuff up from 6-8 years ago that are completely irrelevant. And when I say completely irrelevant, like the people that say, oh, his wife is a sympathizer, blah. When he took the job as the director at NCTC, his entire life and background was checked, including his spouse, including that article and her association with Greystone was all checked as part of his background check.
Right.
It was cleared before he took the job, right? And it's not now all of a sudden a problem, but that's what people are doing. They're taking these snippets of information, they're using them, and it's the same 5 or 6 tweets or the same 5 or 6 screenshots that I've seen 50 times in the last 36 hours. And it's super dishonest. And it's actually really pretty disgusting that a guy has sacrificed that much, including his spouse. And people have decided that since he disagrees with the president, that he's a piece of shit and that he should be, hung from a yardarm somewhere and, like end everything that he's ever done. It's gross. People should be ashamed of themselves, really.
And I will be the first one to tell you to admit that when I first, as you know, we've told you this many times that Clay picks out the topics for us and then I go do like a good girl. I do my research and make sure I'm prepared for the conversation. And this was no exception. So the first thing that I did was, pull everything that's being recently discussed. And every single thing that I read pointed me to everything that Clay is saying right here, that my impression based on all of the first things that I read is this guy is a traitor. He's a turncoat. He is all of these things. He's been bought. He's all of the things that the people of the internet are accusing him of are what my perception was. And so, and I, as we just talked about doing the pause and doing the wait, I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to calm down here and wait to hear what Clay has to say about it. And then I'm going to sit back for the evening and think about this and just simply keep watching, keep listening, and keep paying attention and using some critical thinking and some objective thinking. And, and you brought up some really significant points that, some of these things were said quite a few years ago, and a bunch of other things, just a whole bunch of things. And it was like, all right, you know what? Hey, hang on a second. I am, probably very relatably quick to defend President Trump. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to do that, which is not healthy. It's not good. It's not healthy to just your automatic responses to defend. Your automatic response should be to pause. I'm going to say it the whole darn episode. Pause. Get as much information as you can. And I feel like that is such a daunting, exhausting task. I know that it is, because you have to sift through so much BS and, point and counterpoint and, argument against, argument for. I know, but it is our responsibility to do that. If you want to be a rational thinking human instead of a reactive, listen, I'm speaking to everybody on the right, because those are about the only people that would be watching this show, except for like the three wackadoos that like to come in and argue with themselves basically in there. But I am speaking to everyone who would be listening on the right. If you're saying the types of things that they say on the left you have a problem. You have a greater problem than you even know that you do, because you've fallen into the psyop, and whatever the psyop might be, you've fallen into it. And I saw a great, I don't want to segue too much, but I saw a great thing. I'll have to try and find it and put it in the notes, about the psyops and how to tell if you are in one and if you're falling for one. And it's pretty interesting. And it's, some of the things is kind of what we were talking about when you're seeing multiple big pundits, podcasters, whatever the case is, all repeating the same message, the same talking points, the same everything. It's like, you might be in a psyop, if this, that. So yeah, that's kind of my position these days on all of this stuff. Don't get me wrong, I am still very pro-Trump. I expect to remain that way. Do I, and it's always been the issue, I think, with him. It's the people that surround him. It's the people, that may have different ulterior motives, that may be trying to pull strings. Otherwise, I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that Trump's intentions and his aim and his goals are truly America first. So I don't know. I guess we're just going to see, right? But yeah, you are right, Clay. It is disgusting. It's disheartening to watch someone with, a pretty pristine record of service and sacrifice to this country. And for you, as a veteran, for me as a spouse of a veteran, you like to see, and you made an excellent point. I think you even said it before we went on air. You don't give a free pass just because they served. It's not like this blanket, just because you served, you get the free pass. It's not that at all. But it is a level of respect and decency, basically, right?
Yeah. And we'll move on from this, but that's there's just the amount of people inside of 12 to 24 hours who have truthfully didn't know who Joe Kent was until he put his resignation letter in, didn't know what his job was, don't know what his background is, and had never heard of him, suddenly became experts on everything about him, his job, and his past, and made a whole bunch of judgment calls based on absolutely nothing but what they found on the internet, which is pretty shameful. But yeah, that's where we live now. I hate to say it. That's where we live. So,
oh yeah, there's going to be people in the comment section of the clips
people are going to have gone after me and my service. It is what it is. When you put yourself out there, those are the risks that you take. I get it. I still think it's gross, but people do it, and it, that's kind of the world that we live in right now.
Right. Yeah. Listen, people are going to come at me when they see some of these clips. They're going to come at me for insisting on finding a neutral position. They're going to say, you have to pick a side. You have to have a position. You can't. And I've told you all this before. I have a side. His side is Jesus. That is my side. That is my only side. Everything else comes after that. So if you come in telling me I got to pick a side, dude, that has been picked long before any of these conversations happened. So there's that. All right, next, let's see. We are talking about Cuba. Cuba. Yes, my half of my people, half of my heritage there. Let's see. Cuba's people are hitting the streets over endless blackouts and shortages, torching a Communist Party office in Morón. Echoes of 2021, but fiercer, with Trump squeezing oil and talking regime change. Is freedom finally breaking through? My goodness, the very idea of it is, it's obviously meaningful to me. I've said this to you guys before, so I apologize to those of you who already know this. I am half German and half Cuban, and I'm 100% American, but this is my heritage. It literally split right down the middle. My father and that side of the family is all from Cuba. My father was born in Cuba, raised there until his teen years, and then came here. My mother was born in Germany, came here. So it's a very, right down the middle. line. And I have family members, my aunt in particular, who did go to Cuba a few years, probably quite a few years now. It's probably more than 5 years now. She did go back for the first time in many, many years, and it was one of the most heartbreaking things that she felt she had ever done. And, there was parts of her that regretted going back because it was so painful and so sad to see her home, her literal home, what it looks like now. So I've talked to many Cubans who have experienced this. I know my family's history there. So their history of coming here and what they left behind and how they left everything behind. It's too long for this episode, but someday I'd love to have that conversation. So for me, it's kind of like this second step emotional conversation. Do we have? I don't think I have the video. If I have it, I'll put it up. But yeah, there's lots of videos coming out of the protests and it's breaking into some riots and all of those things. But there's a lot to unpack here. But I want to ask you, what do you think actual freedom would look like in Cuba, and how my military man here, how do we support this without another messy intervention?
And that's the hard part, is the timing couldn't be worse. We still haven't figured out or ended, like Venezuela's still, up in the air. Obviously we've got everything going on in Iran. And so now you've got this. Now, I think Cuba actually is fairly easy. And I say that because I think that commercial businesses are going to leap to get into Cuba, establish themselves. And I think the economy is going to fix itself very, very quickly. And I know that there are rumors, discussions. It's been on some news sources that there is negotiation, there is discussion between Havana and Washington, D.C. And so President Trump's a business guy. And so his solution to this is going to be economics. And I think what you're going to see is an influx of American money is going to fix a lot of problems in Cuba. My fear is that it is almost like the fire hose, right? There's just so much that it is going to overwhelm anything and everything that they have as far as infrastructure, because I know that's pretty fragile. So I just hope that we can provide enough oversight through Department of State to kind of control what goes in there to help bolster Cuba as it becomes free. But I actually think it's, zero bloodshed. I don't think there's going to be any, fight in it. I think there's going to be a peaceful negotiation, and a dissolution of the communist government, I think, is going to dissolve. And then I think you're going to see a massive influx of American money that's going to put Cuba back on the map, like very quickly. It's going to look like Cuba, pre-Castro casinos and like all of that. Like, I think that it's going to turn around and become a tourist hub very, very quickly.
It would be so amazing. That is absolutely a dream to go to Cuba to just to see it, so I am hoping for that. More importantly, right now, praying for all of the people there. If you can imagine just living with like 18-hour blackouts, and families are in the dark, and of course food is spoiling, what little food that they have even. So that is socialism's gift right there, guys. That's the gift that keeps on taking. Right? Not to laugh about it, but I was being punny there, and I was pretty proud of myself. So yeah, there's that one. I personally will be very intently watching what happens there.
Sure.
Let's go to this one, Clay.
So the partial shutdown continues, folks. And so, right now it's all the impact is almost exclusively on facets of DHS. Everybody's doing it at TSA at the airports. We talked about this before, but Coast Guard and, I know ICE has their money, but BPS, regardless, the messaging now from the Democrats, and I say Democrats, I'm talking all of them, everybody, Schumer, all of them are saying, we want to end this. We want to end this shutdown.
Yeah.
We want to end this. But ICE. And that's really it. And there's a million solutions to this. There is, but they're playing hardball. But the messaging, and they keep voting to keep it, all of that partial shutdown going. And at the same, out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying, no, we want to reopen everything. We really, really want to. And then they're trying to blame, the GOP, the conservatives for this, when they're the ones that, what was that? 11 times they voted
11
against?
times. 11 times. Yep.
Yeah. It's gross, but don't be fooled, folks. And that's the point, is that their messaging does not match their actions, as is typical.
Yes.
Hopefully for all of us, because I know the TSA issue for a lot of folks is getting pretty hectic. I hope this doesn't last much longer, even if they, whittle it down and say, okay, well, let's fund these things. You know what I mean? And
right.
Get some of the money flowing. But yeah, this is, it's not helping anybody. And truthfully, I saw somebody tweeted the other day, like, Congress should be riding coach and waiting in line like everybody else. They shouldn't be allowed to use Clear. They shouldn't be allowed TSA special passes, no escort through anything. They should have to stand in line with everybody else and suffer the consequences. And
absolutely.
I agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of Clear, yes, we did get Clear. Last week, Clay and I talked about getting Clear. We did get it. We did it. I'll tell you all how it went when we come back. So yeah. I was like, you know what? Gotta do it. Gotta do it. I gotta get to those grandbabies. That's the most important thing on this planet right now. Everything else is irrelevant to me. Listen, speaking of lawmakers, right? We can go right on to this. Yeah.
Yeah. So primaries in Illinois yesterday. And so obviously, being a resident, I pay very close attention to these things now. And the thing that jumped out at me was in a local news story I saw, but then it got picked up by the national news. And for those that don't know, Governor J.B. Pritzker, his family, and I've immediately forgotten, they are hotel owners. Like, when I say hotel owners, they own, which one is it? It's one of the big ones, right? They own, it's not Hilton, but it's one of those big, they have billions. Oh, Hyatt. They own Hyatt.
Oh, okay.
They have billions and billions of family dollars. Well, Governor is using the Hyatt Corporation and Hyatt dollars to influence the elections inside of the state because he's a billionaire. And folks, there's a difference between President Trump saying, I endorse so-and-so and in such and such state or for such and such position, right? And we know his success rate is very, very high.
Right.
Just getting a Trump endorsement is a great thing. He doesn't follow it up with money, right?
Right.
Governor Pritzker is following it up with money from the high. He's essentially using it as a tax, like a shield kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
feels problematic. Call me crazy.
He's influencing the elections financially through family money, in ways that I think the founding fathers would not be cool with.
I feel like they would not be cool with that.
Yeah. And so, he's at the point now where he is one of the considered, probably final 3 or 4 in the next presidential election. If his, physical fatness allows him to live that long. But it's something to be cautious about, right? Yes, President Trump funded a lot of his presidential campaign out of his own money, out of Trump dollars, the Trump Corporation. But Governor Pritzker is influencing lower level elections within his own state with funds from his corporation. So it's a interesting dynamic that I haven't seen before. And I think it's very problematic. I mean, right? I'm not
Yeah.
crazy.
No, I don't think so. If somebody thinks he is crazy, please tell us why in detail. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
I just
Right? Like
doesn't make any
how
sense.
are you thinking this is a good idea other than because you're a Democrat and he's a Democrat and you just want to make sure never any Republicans ever. Like that would be the only
Well, it's Illinois. I mean,
yeah.
it is
Exactly.
Illinois.
Right.
You know, we have a history of governors going to jail. We have corrupt politics. I mean, you've got Blagojevich and Obama and like it all. All of the political sickness, in this state is hereditary, and it just keeps going.
They kind of brew quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, let's just keep them rolling here with insanity, right? I mean, I hate to laugh about it, but how do you not even just laugh at this point? Because it's so bananas. Virginia's assault weapons ban heads to Spanberger bans sales high capacity mags, but exempts law enforcement. And it says, I have some officials. I don't think that's accurate. Is that, can you clarify that a little bit? Because they need this in plain terms, Clay. Go for it.
So this is a widespread gun ban in the state of Virginia, not just in possession of or purchase of high capacity magazines, the always misnomer assault rifle.
I was just going to say I hate that phrase, but yeah, go ahead.
If you have one now, you can own it, and that's okay. It can never leave your house. Never. You can't transport it under this new bill. So if you have one, you can't take it to the range. You can't shoot it. It cannot leave your house. And oh, by the way, if you buy one or it's located at another location, you can't move it within the state of Virginia. Along with all of the, like I said, the other high capacity magazine and assault rifle ban, blah, 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 blah. However, and as gross as all that is, and the 2A community is freaking out as they should. This is one of the most restrictive gun bans in the nation right now. Asked their Congress, their Congress, and it went to the governor's desk. And there were some great protests outside the Capitol in Virginia, like people literally walking around open assault rifles like strapped across their chests, and a company was giving out free 30-round magazines like the protesters and all kinds of stuff. But what's crazy about this, and Elsa said it, is there is a clause in this bill that out loud, no hiding, exempts all state lawmakers from every facet of this bill. So they can all have high capacity magazines, assault rifles. They can transport them out of their house. They can do everything in the bill that the bill says you can't do. They are all exempt. It is the most blatant hypocrisy you will see anywhere in any state level law. It is unbelievable. And they don't care. They literally know it's in there, and they don't give a crap how bad it looks or how big of hypocrites they are. They don't care.
Yeah. Let that sink in. The lawmakers, I just can't. The lawmakers should be trusted with guns, but the everyday citizens should not. I mean, are you? It feels like it's a joke. Like it feels like somebody's going to go, just kidding. We wanted to see if you would fall for it. Like we wanted to see if you would buy it, if you were paying attention, like if you remembered.
Yeah, we thought we could sneak it by you. I guess not. Whoops.
Whoops. Yeah. I mean, how, as usual, law-abiding citizens, law-abiding gun owners, law-abiding citizens are the ones that are going to pay the price of this, because what do we all know by now? Well, it's that lawbreakers don't give a what about gun laws. They don't care. So who's going to pay for this? Well, we all know the answer to this. Let's just everybody sit back and watch the rampant crime just go right through the roof. Yeah, just, not only is it so dumb and it's so obnoxious, it is horrifying that they could even pull that off. Like, that could even be pulled off.
Yeah.
So shame on anyone in that state who's not paying attention and who's not getting themselves involved in this battle, because that is just the beginning, folks, just the beginning of what they'll do to you. My goodness, do we not learn anything from history ever at all? Exhausting. Lastly, speaking of exhausting, 2026 Oscars, did anyone actually watch? Did you watch, Clay?
No, but I saw a great number on their viewership. Did you know? Yeah. So their viewership 20 years ago, I think, was 54 million.
20 years ago. Okay. 54 million.
34 million. And this week it was 17 million. Now,
okay,
I don't know how much streaming, how much, just think about the evolution of technology.
Right.
But what they did find was the World Baseball Classic, being the same week as the Oscars, overpowered the Oscars, and there were more watchers of the World Baseball Classic than there was of the Oscars.
Wow.
Nobody watched it because they're like,
they're so dumb. I can't, at this point in my life, I cannot fathom sitting there, watch a bunch of, pretend makers pat themselves and each other on the back for pretending. And yes, I do love movies. I do love shows. I love theater. I do enjoy all of those things. I don't love the back patting and, grandstanding of people who live in their isolation bubbles and preach to the rest of us how we should think, how we should feel, what we should believe in. And they could not be more disconnected from the world if they tried. Like, they are the most disconnected people. So to sit there and watch them, like I said, grandstand and get on their soapbox and just walk around with their chests all puffed up and pompous and arrogant and obnoxious and call themselves.
You had a clip?
Oh, I do have a clip. Yeah, here's this one. And then, they go about saying highly offensive things like this.
We should take some of these feature films, remake them as shorts. Schindler's Posted.
I don't really know how that would be funny. So, premise wise, sure, I'll give it to him. The idea of like the Oscar or the movies being too long and exhausting. Sure, I'm going to give that to you. There certainly are ones that are definitely that. But to add Schindler's List to that list in this climate, especially right now, it's hard to take that as anything other than, if it's not anti-Semitic, it's really towing the line of it,
Like, it's dumb to make that joke, right? Especially in that room, the overly that is the room that tells everybody else to be hypersensitive,
right,
to everything. And I get it. There's a revolt within the comics right now that are like, no, we need to make fun of everything because that's how we get back to normal. And I agree with that.
I agree with that. Yes.
In that room with that audience, to make a joke about that specific movie, Schindler's List, and shortening so it's Schindler's Post-it note.
That was gross.
One really bad choice by that comedian. And he's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy.
Yeah, stand-up's good. But really, it's like that is the height of like read the room and don't be dumbass. And it's both of those.
Right. Yeah. It kind of becomes a question of like, are you being tone deaf or are you reading the room? And that's what the room wants, because there was very muted laughter there. The laughter on that one was very like, like, I don't think that was a good idea. So we usually do the very last thing we always do is the comments section. We need a little theme song for that. I'm gonna have to create one for it. I do not have an exact one to pull up. It's not that they don't exist. I just didn't have time today to pull one up. But Clay discovered something that I kind of was only vaguely aware of. Go ahead, tell him about it.
Two things. One, I was on the Facebook feed last week when we were live, and there was an individual on there, and they disappeared so quickly I couldn't even screenshot them. But there was a guy on there that was commenting, and then Elsa and I don't know if the auto censors or somebody else, whatever. Somebody was taking down his comments like so rapidly. So if you guys were watching on Facebook, you know what I'm talking about, because they were up, they were weird. Like if the guy could have cut out letters from a magazine cover, you know, like they do in movies, like the ransom notes, like that's the kind of weird that the vibe I got off of this guy. So I couldn't even catch any of those to bring to the show. But I discovered by accident, for those of you that are on Facebook Messenger, I did not know this exists. So when people send you messages that you are not connected with, it goes into a totally separate like folder, basically. So you can go to message requests, and it's people will send you a message, but they've got a request for you to read the message. So it goes into this weird space. I found that the other day, and I found like a half a dozen or so comments reflecting content from this show in the last 6 months or so that people were not very friendly. I got those things we were talking about, Joe Kent. I got called some of those names. I got called a warmonger. I got called a traitor. I got called weak. I got called somebody said stolen valor. But like I was like, man, I wanted to go back and find
what got them all fired up
on the show. But so people were direct messaging me on Facebook, sending me these nasty. I should have kept them and screenshotted them. I deleted them, but I should have. Yeah. People were direct messaging me on Facebook and sending me all these like awful messages. Listen, if you have not found this or you have not looked, don't look. Don't
do it. Don't do it.
No.
Yeah. So a very long time ago, probably going back like a couple of years now, I did accidentally discover I don't know what they call it, like a hidden folder or something like that. I don't know what they call it or something like, oh no, it was just message requests, right? I think it's message requests. Yeah. I don't really know, especially, so my page, the Elsa Kurt Show page is like a public page, a public entity. So I don't know why some people are allowed to message and others are not. I don't know what the criteria is for that. I didn't set it. Obviously, you didn't set it. So I don't know why some come through and some don't. Frankly, I don't actually care. It's not something I'm even going to do even a moment's time trying to find out and figure out. I just know that when I did discover it, kind of like the same kind of thing, it was like, either like super creepy, skeevy messages, that, hey, sweetheart, things that make your skin crawl, or it was the not so nice ones with very, very unkind things to say. And I was like, yeah, this does not benefit my life in any way, shape, or form. So I think I'm just going to take a hard pass on that and not acknowledge. And I see regularly in the regular messages, and I've addressed this before in the past, and I always do feel a little bit bad for the nice, kind people that, for one reason or another, choose to send a private message in Messenger. I have an automatic message that goes out every single time, and it's it's a little bit of it looks like it's a paragraph. It's probably like just 3 lines, but the synopsis is that it's a thank you for reaching out. I don't often look at these. If it's anything important, please feel free to email me. I give my email address. Not the most advisable thing, but it's whatever. And like kind of the last part of that is just the friendly notice that if this is a threatening, harassing, vulgar message, I go down the list of those things, that there is a good possibility that this could get turned over to authorities and reported to Facebook, and you could potentially, at the very least, get yourself banned from Facebook, and at the very worst, get yourself a knock on your door with an arrest warrant. It all depends on where you're taking that comment. So it's just a friendly warning. And sometimes poor people, when they read it, they're like, I didn't mean to say anything. I don't know what I said that triggered this. I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. And if I see it, I will respond. Like, you didn't do anything. Nothing is going to happen to you. It's perfectly fine. It's.
I can tell you this. I get this when I met Elsa. I will I will forward her things on social media that I want to share, or I want her to share, whatever. And I'm lucky enough that I get to text her. So I text her and say, hey, go to Instagram. But
check
that
your message
that everybody else sees, I get it too. So
yes.
It's okay.
It is nothing personal. Yeah, nothing personal, guys. It's just the comment section is one thing we've talked about many times. The messages is a whole other ball game. And, 90% of it is very kind and encouraging and supportive and absolutely wonderful. And I'm so grateful that people would even take the time. Like, you would even take the time is just amazing and humbling to me. For that little 10%.
Yeah.
Y'all need your mouth washed out with soap. Oh my goodness. All right, Clay. That's all I've got. You got anything else to tell them?
No, folks, we appreciate you. We try and pop in on Thursdays when this drops live and, communicate with you guys. I at least try and say hi. People don't interact with me, which is a little weird, but that's okay.
They don't interact with me either when I comment. They're like,
yeah, I know. They don't think it's us. I don't know. It really is us.
Yeah, it is.
But, we love you for tuning in. Every week it's a blast. We love doing this, and we appreciate all of you. And so until next week, keep moving, keep shooting.
Absolutely, guys. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
The headlines will change by tomorrow, but the patterns won't. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll be back to keep asking the harder questions and telling the quieter truths. Until then, stay grounded, be discerning, and we'll see you next time.